Yeah. What? What?
Lots of pomp and circumstance today. Yes,
What is
indeed.
going on? You know what stinks is we would have had Jimmy in one window with a hard hat, Sherrod in another with his graduation gown and cap, me wearing pink because it's Mother's Day. I've got Mother's Day flowers right behind me there. Um, and everything happened today. Sherrod gets his master's. Uh, mothers everywhere celebrate and rejoice. And Jason Tatum uh, absolutely has a big boy. Put it in the
Oh
books.
my.
Talk about this one for years to come. Playoff performance, and the Celtics beat the Sixers and advance. They did it again, back-to-back years, Sherrod. Backs against the wall in round two. They win game 6 on the road. They come back in a tight one. They come back and win game 7. Last year it was Tatum with the game 6 heroics, extending the season. This year, in what was a tight game-ish, Tatum and co put it away. So it's impossible to not start with Tatum because it's incredible how much he rewrote his script, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about a person who we were minutes from starting to question who this person was, and whether this person was everything that people say and we've said and we believe that he is or could be. And in 5 quarters, he completely rewrote the whole script.
Yeah. I mean, this was in top 5 Tatum. We saw this was next level
Yeah.
Tatum. The way he was able to just establish his presence, his impact from the opening tip off, and never really relented. You never felt as if there was a moment in the game where he wasn't in control of anything and everything that was happening. And I was a little bit surprised that Philadelphia really didn't play with the kind of sense of urgency. And by that, I simply mean when a guy has it cooking the way he did, I would have thought they would have tried to make work a little bit harder to get the ball out of his hands. And that just didn't happen. I mean, they pretty much, whenever Tatum, they'd run that pick and roll and there'd be a switch, they didn't do anything additional to try to get the ball out of his hands, even though he was cooking everyone on that Sixers roster. Joel, you got some of that. Tobias got some of that. Melton, Max, you name the player. They definitely, he was feasting off of them. And flip side to that, Philadelphia got maybe the best quarter of play that they could have imagined from PJ Tucker, one of those 4th, 5th option type guys. And that was it. That was literally the only guy that they could look at as this thing unfolded that was giving you a little bit more and play with that kind of urgency that you need to have in order to win a game 7. So props to Tatum for just simply big boying up and just handling his business.
So here's the thing. There's one way to look at it. A lot of people would be like, well, the shots fell this game. There was more to it than that. When he was feeling it, he started hitting a few of those swagger in your face threes. But he was doing his work. This is where people are going to be like, well, the shots went in. It was more than that. He did the majority of his work, and he only made 1 3 in that first half. He did the majority of his work all over the place. He even worked in some mid-range, found a way to get himself to the basket. Even after eating a couple in that first quarter, yeah, he scored some, but he was also throwing a couple up. Philly had like 6 blocks. Kind of felt like it might be one of those let's force the issue games. There was no flow to that offense at all. I was pretty worried in that first quarter the way the Celtics offense looked. You knew PJ Tucker you're not gonna have a 40 piece from Tucker. Generally speaking, I didn't like what I saw out of the Celtics offense. A lot of 1-on-5. And then everything kind of changed. I think Tatum opened it up by, scoring a little bit on his own, just making a lot more of the right reads. Ball started moving a lot better in those in that second and third quarter, and everything just kind of changed. But I mean, even though he went off and he had 20, how much was it at the half? 26, 20, I don't even know.
25 or 26, something like that to have.
I mean, have you ever seen a quarter like that third quarter?
No, it's been a while. I mean, if I had, I can't remember last time I seen that. But the thing that and you touched on this a second ago, the reads that Tatum was making was the best he's done in that particular area. I think certainly in this series, maybe ever. He didn't settle. You never felt as though the shots that he was taking, no matter where he was in the shot clock, were shots that he'd settle for. A great example of that was, I believe it was the second and third quarter, where he's got a pretty good look at the three, but rather than take that shot with like 4 seconds on the clock, he dribble drives, penetrates, gets into the lane, and finishes at the rim just before the shot clock goes off. And those were the type of plays that we had not seen in any type type of abundance up until this game. But to me, the keys to them winning was just his ability to read and react appropriately on offense. And Jaylen Brown's ability to take what seemed like not that big a moment, but make it into something that it seemed they were a different team afterward. When he got smacked in the mouth by James Harden. That was, to me, I thought that was the end game turning point where the Celtics became a different kind of team. Blood is dripping off his mouth, and they became a very different team. It was almost as if that was the wake-up call that, okay, we can't just play well. We have to play great, and it can't just be JT carrying a little. We also have to contribute to this.
It was a little bit because, I mean, I don't want to say sleepwalking, but like I didn't feel the defense was as connected early. Right. I didn't feel like they were fighting through the screens as easily. I didn't feel like they were rushing to the ball. Like that defense in the third quarter looked exactly like the 2022 team. It was not, this wasn't Philly's shots didn't fall. How many times is the ball in somebody's hands 40 feet from the basket and had to force it after the Celtics just didn't allow them anything? The way that they were playing, the timeliness of the switches and the doubles was totally different than what they were doing before. You could look back on some of the early games. It was like, why didn't he come off his guy to double there? Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he do that? You could see it. Like, what are they doing here? They're making it easy on him. This was one of those like everything is hard games. That looked like Philly trying to play offense there in that third looked like the worst thing I've ever seen. The Celtics were absolute just stranglehold, and then Tatum just lost his friggin' mind. All of those step back threes, and it was, like that. 33-10, freaking unbelievable. We're gonna welcome Toscano back in. Yeah, I see you, buddy. I see you,
Mr. Hard Hat.
I see him. Let's bring him in. We need that lunch pail mentality.
Let's go, Jimmy. Let's go.
So we're gonna bring in Jimmy Toscano right in here with bang. Switch the graphic. There it is.
There he is.
What up, Jimmy?
Let's go. You guys hear me? Tell me you can hear me and that I'm live.
We got you. We got you.
We hear you.
We hear you, my friend.
Okay. This was a game I've been waiting for a long time. And I think I speak for a lot of Celtics fans when I say that. This was a game that we knew Tatum had in him, that we knew the Celtics had in him. This is the outcome that I think Celtics fans assumed when people like our good friend Bobby Manning picked the Celtics. And it took seven games to get it. John did pick Celtics in 7. We all know that.
Give John his
flowers. Take a victory lap, though. Let him, because he said he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to have to take a victory lap. So we won't allow him to. Thank God, because this game where you kind of felt, what's the word I'm looking for? Vindicated. You felt vindicated for what you thought you knew about this team in a way, if you're a Celtics fan, green team, or all that stuff. And unfortunately, consistency has been a problem for the Celtics. But tonight, Jason Tatum had one of those, career nights that we know that he has in him, the 50-plus points. Completely different person than he was in Game 6 through 3 quarters. And he caught on fire in the fourth quarter, and he's just riding that out. So great. The Celtics have tons of momentum, good vibes only heading into the Eastern Conference Finals against a Heat team that really, they're, credit to them, but they have no business being in the Eastern Conference Finals. So again, this is like the bubble all over again, except now the Celtics are way better than the Heat were. I'm hoping the Celtics take care of business in this one and get to the NBA Finals. I think everybody who's followed this team this year knows that they're capable of just that, and I think we're just positive vibes only heading into the Eastern Conference Finals.
We can keep the positive vibes.
Am I off or am I on?
Jimmy, we can keep the positive vibes, but let's also keep the respect for the game. Miami didn't just walk into they beat some pretty damn good teams to get where they're at now. The Celtics without question should go in as a favorites, but this is not going to be a cakewalk because they have a guy and Jimmy Butler, who we have seen put his team on his back and carry them to victory. They have a lot of guys who can knock down shots. This series is not gonna be a 4 or 5 game series. At least 6 games. This is gonna go. At least 6.
Yeah. Speaking of this is what we were talking about earlier. Jason Tatum, he started inside, he went out. I did not see this as the path for them. I did not. The way Philly started and the way they were blocking shots and the way these guys looked going in there, this felt like the same type of struggles we've seen the last few games with them. Not quite sure how they were going to get points. I was definitely concerned on how the Celtics were going to find buckets here. And credit, they kept going. And Tatum didn't just keep doing the same thing. He just started doing it better. His just reads were better. His rim reads were better. You know, he had one where he just was tripping over himself, stumbling towards the thing and flipped one up. And like Embiid blocks that 1,000 out of 1,000 times. I was like, man, you know, and then just all of a sudden it was shiftier. He was going at the right time. When he had the matchup, he was beating people. He had a couple of mid-range. I loved one like free throw jumper he pulled up over Melton. I think that's the key. I think that's such a huge key for him to be able to do that. But he was just creative the way that he was getting to the basket and getting to the rim and able to finish out in front of Embiid instead of trying to shoot it over him, especially when he got him on a switch a couple times and was able to beat him to the basket. So really, really good stuff from Tatum there. As far as Miami, we'll spend a good time previewing them. I am not look at this. Is this Nick giving us juice?
Yeah, I just had that up there.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Why I got to answer
Thanks,
these.
Nick.
Why do I wear a hat? I don't know. I just get I'm kind of lounging around. Sometimes
we're all wearing hats.
We're all wearing hats.
We're all wearing different hats right now.
Because we're different. We're different.
I am not.
Congrats, Sherrod. I don't know if John. I'm sure John already said it, but congratulations today, Sherrod Blakely. Graduated. Is it high school, Sherrod?
No, it'd be homeschool, Jimmy. Homeschool. I got a master's in homeschool. You should try it sometime.
There's only one graduate of homeschool.
Sadly, you're right. All good. All good.
Sherrod with the masters, right? Is that accurate?
With the masters, yeah. Masters today, doctor tomorrow. Who knows? No, but listen, the true schooling was what Tatum and the Celtics did out there tonight. I mean, this is basketball 101, Game 7. I mean, your best player carries you for most of the night, and it's up to the opponent to make adjustments. And Philadelphia never did. They never did anything that even remotely looked like an adjustment on Tatum. And if he is getting the switch to the guy he wants to defend him, and he's getting to the rim, he's getting the mid-range, he's getting the 3-ball, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get your ass whipped. And that's exactly what Philly did. I couldn't understand why they didn't put up more of a fight to try to get Tatum, the one guy who had the hot hand from the beginning to the end, get him off his rhythm in some way. And they never tried. It never seemed like they tried to change. If I'm a Sixers fan, I'm pissed. I'm livid that, Tatum just didn't Tatum didn't feel them at all. And that's, and Joel cannot say the same. I thought this was Al's best game defensively against Joel. Got him away from a lot of the spots he's comfortable with, blocked his shot at least once or twice, gave him hell. And Joel finished with just 15 points. MVPs aren't supposed to finish with 15 points in Game 7s. Should not happen.
Yeah, they're not. No. I would not be stunned. I'm not letting him off the hook. I would not be stunned if you find out Embiid's going right under the knife as soon as this season is over here with the knee stuff. What I will say is they did it right, and it was a big man Al sort of game with Embiid, but they played him the right way. Everything is not black and white. It's not shoot threes, don't shoot threes. It's how you get the threes. It's the type of threes. Are you able to, go inside out? It's not double or don't double Embiid. It's when you double Embiid. And they were really smart about when they did it. You do it as soon as he puts the ball to the ground, and you try to get there when his back is turned and he puts the ball down and he tries to boom. That's where you attack. And they cause some turnovers and they make it so he's got to kind of wrestle with it. Really, really smart with it. The rest, you play him straight up and you don't hack. You just put your body there and you just kind of let it happen. And, when he's about to put it down or go up with it, the help can come over and make it a little bit more challenging for him, make a decision there. They were really smart with how they played him. I thought the execution on defense was incredible. The way they played the pick and roll, so much better today. Harden checked out in the third quarter. See you later. Say hi to Ime for us.
Yeah. What changed in that third quarter? What happened?
The defense was 2022 defense. I really was. I don't know what it was. They just locked it in. I mean, the Philly side will say that they mailed it in, but did that not look like the defense from from like 15 months ago?
It totally did. Yeah. And that's what they have to do when they head into the next series. I mean, their defense really does have to carry the load, because Miami, even though Miami doesn't make you think great offensive juggernaut, they got a lot of guys that can knock down threes. Max Strus can knock down threes. Jimmy Butler, when needed, can knock down big late game must-have type threes. Kyle Lowry is a good three-point shooter as well. Gabe Vincent may be the one guy that we weren't talking much about last go around that we need to focus more on, because he's proven himself to be a pretty damn good player. So this is not, and we're not even talking about Bam Adebayo, it's just the impact he can make on the game. So Miami, like I said, they're not going to just show up and get that ass whipped. They're going to compete. And the Celtics, defense is going to have to be the imprint that they have to put on this series if they're going to get back to the finals.
Sherrod, you want to tell them why it's a Sherrod Blakely and not just the Sherrod Blakely?
A is for Anthony.
Anthony Sherrod.
Anthony Sherrod.
He is still the Sherrod. He is
not
still
the Sherrod. It's a Sherrod
Blakely.
But
you are the
You're
one.
still the Sherrod Blakely, but you all are also a Sherrod Blakely.
The government knows me as Anthony.
Right.
Yeah.
The feds know me as Anthony.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
they know you well.
Unfortunately, they do.
As far as the Heat go, you know me. I said it in round one. Stay as far the F away from them as possible, because I don't want Butler. I don't want Spoelstra, but I didn't want them as a round one matchup. I do want them as a round three matchup. The reason you don't want them round one is because you're still getting your sea legs under you, your playoff legs a little bit. Joe's figuring stuff out. As Marcus will have us know, he's still learning, and they're teaching him. And so I wanted a couple rounds under his belt before you run into a coach like Spoelstra. When you get into the conference finals, and if you're clicking and you're playing anywhere close to your level of basketball, I don't care if Red and Lenny Wilkins and Phil Jackson and whoever is over there. I just don't think they've got.
Hey, easy. Don't put Red in that bunch. Don't put Red in that bunch, buddy.
And Belichick, all of them. I love Jimmy Butler. I love Jimmy Butler. I respect the hell out of him as much as any athlete, period, in sports.
Sounds like you don't.
I love him, and I love Spoelstra. I love very little else about the Heat. I really do.
Lamp.
I love Lamp. So we'll get into deeper predictions as time goes, but I think Miami's made it as far as they could go. I would not be surprised.
But John,
relatively easy Celtics series. I'm not going to lie. That's where I'm coming from.
But if the Heat get to the Eastern Conference Finals, doesn't that kind of confirm all your fears about the Heat? The fact that they made it.
No,
that
because
far?
I think they beat a bit.
Like, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
I don't, because I think they beat a broken Bucks team. I think Giannis missed basically two games, 2.5, basically ineffective there. They were showing a lot of problems. They were nowhere near as good as their record. A lot of the analytics people weren't as high on the Bucks, even though Vegas for some reason was. But the Vegas, after they went down, everyone's like, yeah, we should have seen it coming. A lot of problems with this Bucks team. Bucks team was more flawed than we let on. And the Knicks made it as far as the Knicks were going to make it. That's about it. This is what they had in there. So I don't think I think against a fully stacked Celtics or Philly team, I think Miami would have had a really difficult time against either, honestly. But who knows?
Sure.
Props to them. Like I said, I freaking love these guys because they have a great coach and they have Butler.
And they're going to have a problem.
Well, listen,
but there's familiarity here. They're not stupid. Right. They've played them enough to know what's on the other side.
Right. And they know that they're dealing with a team that is well coached and has a guy that can carry teams to wins in the postseason. So I think their antennas are going to be a little bit higher up in this series going in than they would normally be. And again, the Heat, they did exactly what teams in their situation is supposed to do. If there is a crack in your opponent's armor that you can take advantage of, you absolutely milk that. And against Milwaukee, knowing that Giannis was either going to be missing games or when he returned, he wouldn't be at full strength, they did a great job of taking advantage of that opportunity that was given to them that they had nothing to do with. The Celtics, conversely, did not do that. When Joel Embiid misses game 1, you need to win that game like you did game 7. And to me, the Celtics, they gave them at least 2 of those 3 wins that Philadelphia was able to get simply because they did not handle business the way you're supposed to. And so the Celtics, they can't afford to do that against Miami. They can't afford to give away games at this latest stage of the postseason like they did against Philly. They were lucky to get out of this Philly series and move on because of the way that they just squandered some games. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean Philly was a bad team. It just simply, or the Celtics are a bad team. It simply means that they didn't maximize the moments where they could have made their lives a lot easier. And that concerns me going into the Miami series because you can't do that against a team that is talented in terms of leadership with Jimmy Butler and as well coached as they are with Spoelstra.
Fair enough. Facts, dog. We'll get into that.
Facts,
we're going to go deeper. We're going to go deeper in the Heat. Like I said, I have a lot of respect for them. I really just don't think they have the horses. I think also, like, guys you missed here, like Derek White's coming back in this series. He's going to be effective again. I guess this was a tough matchup for him. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the Celtics did it with, some real limitations here. I think they'll be able to roll a little bit deeper here in this series and be able to maximize a lot of what more of their players do. Because, I mean, they really put the onus entirely on Tatum in this game, or Brown early in the series, because they weren't getting a lot else from a lot of other people. So they had to do what they did and rely on defense here and let defense lead them. And again, both of these games, as good as Tatum was, were won by defense. I don't think you need to do that as much against Miami because you're not super, super, super worried about Miami's offense, even though they have been playing really well in the playoffs. So, I think they can get back to more who they are and who they were offensively a little bit more here against the Heat, but we'll see. Anyway, we'll get more into it in a little bit. We've got a few things that we need to discuss first, and among them is our terrific sponsor here, HelloFresh, is back with the Garden Report. It's going to keep riding with us through the playoffs and through the year. And again, what do you get with HelloFresh, guys? Okay, we got a lot of basketball to watch, okay, and we've got jobs. And then when we don't watch basketball, we have to talk about it and tweet about it and do lots of things. So there's no time to cook. So again, skip the trips to the grocery store and get down with HelloFresh, farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You got to cook it, but still, you don't want to go out. You want to do stuff, you want to be active. And then you want to have, the best thing about it is you want to change your menu now. It's getting really nice out. And that's what you can kind of do with HelloFresh, kind of have a bright, summery sort of menu, customize it to what you want, eat a little bit lighter because you want to be, active and be out there in the summer. So make home cooking easy, fun, affordable. America's #1 meal kit with, as we said, flavor here in full bloom, latest taste of spring, chef-crafted recipes featuring ripe seasonal ingredients delivered to your door. You can choose from over 100 items to round out your order, 40 weekly recipes. Again, very customizable. You can do a lot of different things here. So make dinner time easy with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Head over to HelloFresh.com/16garden. They got 8, Jimmy. 8 to go. 16 Garden, 16 free meals plus free shipping. Once again, HelloFresh.
Guys, so the whole thing, 6. Right?
16 Garden, 16 wins. Also, we'll let you know about, you want to get healthy, start the day off with Athletic Greens, a terrific supplement, 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, adaptogens, 1 scoop, cup of water, and you're done. You don't have to do anything else. You just have to take Athletic Greens rather than chase around a million different pills and supplements. Takes care of literally everything that you're probably out there trying to do for yourself and for your body. Jimmy Toscano is a user. Sherrod Blakely is a user. A staunch supporters of Athletic Greens. We've been
I'm addicted
with this product now for almost an entire year. And it's not a joke. We actually all still take it and keep renewing, even though they're not giving it to me for free anymore. I'm still I'm still going and
No.
getting some because I'm down with it. So go here, athleticgreens.com/garden, free 1 year supply, vitamin D, 5 free travel packs. Also, and you really want these if you're going to be walking around town or going to Celtics games, you get one of these t-shirts when you support one of our sponsors here at HelloFresh. So, guys, moving on again. What more do we want to talk about this game before we completely put it to bed here? What's outside? Tatum is there. Anything else stand out to you guys just in terms of how they approach things defensively and what they did here and just the job that they did on Embiid and Harden?
I don't know what to make of Rob in this series because I mean,
In his career.
In this series, I'm like most people. I love so much about Rob and what he can do. But when I'm watching this game and I'm seeing Marcus Smart defending Joel Embiid and Rob is the help defender, I'm like, wait a minute, that should kind of be the other way around. And it wasn't like a switch led to that. That was the game plan. That was the plan, to have your 6'4" point guard defend the 7 foot, 285-pound league MVP with the 6'9", 6'10" freakish athlete helping. I don't know what to expect out of Rob against Miami because you would think in theory that he should be able to hold his own against Bam Adebayo. They have very similar builds, and Bam isn't nearly as strong as Joel was. So in theory, you should be able to play him on Bam. But would I be surprised if I see Marcus Smart guarding Bam with Rob as the help side defender? I'm not. And I don't feel good about that. And I don't think fans should feel good about that because Rob is supposed to be your future in the middle. And if he can't go out there and guard the opposing team's center, that's a problem. You need to figure out why that is and what you can do to mask that problem. And putting your damn starting point guard on him is not the answer.
Yeah, I think Rob's obviously an X factor in this series, and really with this team. I think it's pretty obvious if you've been following them. When he's on his game and he's giving it the Rob Williams effort, and Mazzulla's happy with what he sees, that's huge for them because you see how thin their depth is, right? So they're 7 strong right now, and he's that he was in that 6/7 number. Now he's the starting 5. So that's great, but you just got to know that you can rely on him on game basis. And Bam has had the advantage. Let's be honest. Bam has had a huge advantage over Rob over the last few years for whatever reason.
Bam's an all-star.
This is a big.
I mean,
right.
That's the advantage.
Right, but we keep talking about Rob. We talk about Rob like he's an all-star practically around here. We talk about him like he's all defense and like he's the queen of the chessboard sometimes. So in a good, you know what I mean. The queen is the strongest part of the game, John.
That was well done, Jimmy. Well done.
Yeah.
Homeschooling.
So,
well done.
We just play a lot of games at homeschool, a little trick, and then we just get the passing grade. But this is a huge series for Rob. Honestly, this is in my opinion, I'm not gonna say career defining, but it's really gonna let you know if this is a guy that can be more than just a matchup big, right? Because I think you have to be a guy that can do it all, not just against.
If he's
guys.
able to more than hold his own against Bam Adebayo and to get them back to the finals, I think his trajectory changes dramatically going forward. Because then all of a sudden you're saying, well, maybe Rob, maybe he's better than he's played. Maybe he just needs the right matchup to be a great player in this league. He looked a lot more involved offensively, I thought, in Game 7 than normal. As far as actually
he tried to score.
Right. And to me, that's what I want to see. I don't care about the result. I care more about the process, the journey, the effort to try to do something more than just be a guy to catch lobs. And he's clearly trying to be more than that, which is good to see.
It's important he tries only because when it's there and you're passing up an opportunity, there was actually one moment, I believe in the second quarter, where he got the ball. He was kind of in the left elbow. And just the way that it worked, he was going to do a handoff. It ended up not happening. And all of a sudden, the seas parted, and he had a direct path to the basket and did not take it. He had not dribbled yet. And I was like, I was like, that you've got to do that. But then a couple possessions later, he's taken it. He's dribbling with his left hand to the top of the key to
Which you
move the
never
ball
see.
around, which you never see, like little things like that. And then another time where he got it and he attacked and he tried to put one off the glass, from the left side and in, but it was a legit drive. All of those things are like possible, but if you're not mentally prepared to try, when the opportunity is there, you've seen it sometimes. He's like, oh shit, I guess I should shoot, and he's late. So he has to think that way in order to be prepared when that opportunity is clear for him to do it quickly before things settle. Oftentimes there's that click over of like, I don't normally shoot. It's not really my thing. So let me cycle it. And then he's like, wait a second. This is totally what I should be doing right now. And at that point, he's just a beat late on it. And you can see he doesn't have his legs under him or he's not balanced. And he kind of, so he's got, I agree. Like, I like seeing that from him, those couple of moments where he actually tries to extend himself beyond what he's used to doing and gets himself a little more involved. He had to a little bit here because, again, Jimmy said how about depth. Jimmy, what do you listen to? Oh, sorry. I thought I heard an echo. They played 6 deep in this game. Like White played 12. White played 12 minutes. You need something from Rob. Obviously, it helps when your superstar gets friggin' 51 points. Unbelievable from Tatum. Mazzulla, talking about Tatum. What do you think he said about him?
Phenomenal.
Loved him.
Let's go. I love you.
How do you approach that situation where he already probably puts enough pressure on himself and then all the outside forces?
I told him I loved him, and I told him when the game starts, don't listen to people and try to get
Nailed
out
it.
good start scoring. You're not defined by scoring in my book.
There it is.
Most important is don't let your identity be caught up in what others say about you. Your identity is in who you are as a person and how well you can dominate the game in areas that are, don't get all the attention. And I thought I saw that from him tonight. And when you do that, you get, moments like that. And so when he plays a well-rounded game, our team is different. And credit to him for buying into that.
How do you approach that situation where he already probably puts enough?
Very quickly, could you convey all of that sentiment without saying that you told him you loved him?
Yeah.
Was it necessary?
No.
No,
it wasn't.
It's like I told him he's extremely handsome, and the most important thing for him is just to play his game and do what he does. Like, we didn't need the handsome part. Just tell him. Just tell him
Joe's thing.
Yeah, clearly
that's Joe's thing. Like Bobby has phenomenal. Joe has I love him. That's his thing. And bottom, that's just who he is. And Joe's a different kind of coach. There's no doubt about that. But the bottom line is this: whatever his goal with this team was, it worked. His best players were in positions to do the things that they do well. Tatum was a force scoring, obviously. His defense was strong, rebounding once again, had a big game. And one of the stats that I looked up a couple weeks ago with Tatum, when he has like 20 shot attempts, doesn't matter if he makes them or not, and 10 free throws, and he grabs 10 or more rebounds, they pretty much are unbeatable when he's doing that, because that means he's getting to the line, which he did tonight, showing aggression. And if he's getting a lot of shots along with getting to the free throw line, more likely than not, he's being fairly efficient scoring the ball. So this was the blueprint for how Tatum can be absolutely dominant and the Celtics can win. He's not going to go out for 51 every game, but he can still have a significant impact scoring the ball, putting pressure on that defense, forcing them to do some things and make them a little bit uncomfortable at that end of the floor.
Well, let me ask you this, because I said this also, like this whole like they got to get Tatum going.
Okay.
Look, it's nice to get Tatum going. I was saying earlier in the series, I agree with Joe in that front. I don't think you have to get Tatum going in the sense of force it, make it happen, force the issue, give him the ball. Just let Tatum figure it out. Like, that's the whole point behind it, is like scorers don't just need to just score at all costs, even if there's other things that need to be done in the game. Like, what you don't want are 27 shot games where he's hitting 9 of them, like you had the other night, and just force it. Just let him be. Like, that's the point, is trust other players on your team to do their thing, and eventually it's going to come there. If you're just kind of always giving it to Tatum. Like what happened too many times in the series, it was in Tatum's hands and he would go slow and the defense would settle. It would lock in on him and he was just only focused on trying to score. I got to do this. I got to get to the basket. You know, he was aggressive, but he let stuff come to him a little bit more. You know, but they won games this series without Tatum. They did, you know? So, and I mean, they won last game, thankfully, because he turned it on late, but I'm still here in background. Is that you, Jimmy? Are you playing stuff?
You can hear me right now?
I could hear stuff playing from your computer.
Oh, I thought I was on mute. That's weird.
No. So
on.
I agree with that. I think Tatum doesn't have to be the man because he can be the man when at any given time. He doesn't have to force the issue necessarily. Like again, you want to talk about taking pages out of Jimmy Butler's book. There's 38-point games and 42-point games where it's just hero ball, give me the ball and get the F out of my way. And then there's 20-point games and 22-point games. And the Celtics have enough talent where they shouldn't need to rely on, oh, we don't get 35 from Tatum, it's over tonight.
No, he did a really good job of just not only just making the right reads in terms of when to attack, when to pull back, when to pass, but he was quick and decisive. You didn't feel as though he was playing with his food the way he often does when he just dribble, 5 seconds on the clock. Now I'm going to make a decision. And that was really good to see. And he was able to do that, John, without turning the ball over once. I don't know if Tatum has ever had a game in the playoffs where he did not commit a single turnover. Tonight was one of those games. And again, you know, Tatum, this was, again, as far as like all-time great Tatum games, I don't know if you can find one that was better than this one. When you look at his scoring, his defense, his rebounding, playmaking, and just clutch shots that put enough separation between him and an opponent. I don't know if he's had a better game in his career than what we saw today.
You know what Jimmy liked the most?
What did Jimmy like the most?
Jimmy, what did you like from Tatum today that you don't see very often?
Plus 33?
The fire.
Exactly.
The fire. Yeah, he had that swagger tonight that you don't see enough. But he was feeling it. He was feeling himself. He was feeling the crowd. He was cocky. He was a little bit arrogant, which I like to see out there.
Smack.
In a good way. In a good
Very
way.
Humbly.
Smack, just like
I'm the best player in the freaking world.
Humbly,
Yeah.
of course.
Well, I'm one of the best players in the world.
Humbly.
So, yeah, this is kind of what I do.
I think he said, I heard him say, "This is my house," or
and after he did
like
one
that.
shot, he's like, what?
He
What?
was feeling it. Yeah. Honestly, good. That's exactly what I want to see. I want you to show that emotion out there. Leave it all out there. I don't like too cool for school Tatum. I don't like just sort of coasting low. I want you to be high and I want you to be low. That's part of the roller coaster ride of being a great, one of the best, right? So ride that emotional roller coaster. And I love that he got going a little bit. And, he saw a couple easy ones in the first quarter. So we don't have to talk about, he hasn't scored a field goal, blah, blah, blah in the first quarter. Get that out of the way. Then he worked his way out and the shot started to fall. And then he was just, the hoop got bigger and bigger and bigger. And like you said, Sherrod, this was one of his best games of his career. So this is exactly the type of performance you want to ride into the next series. This is why you got to feel completely different about this team going into the Heat series than you did going into the Sixers series.
I feel it. Ironically, I feel it because of the defense. Like more than like this is not to take away from Tatum. Like it'll be the Tatum game, and honestly, it deserves to be. Just considering the way
I agree with you.
The arc of his narrative of the entire how the series was going, he had not played really. He hadn't been lights out. Tatum really in the first two series. You were looking for more. You were looking for that takeover game, and you didn't get it. Even though he had, in Atlanta, he had some favorable matchups and more opportunities, and then really was having one of the worst games anyone's ever had in a big moment in an elimination game in Game 6. So to flip the script like this, you don't see that very often. I mean, he was headed towards an off season of pain in terms of how things would be discussed if they went down in Game 6 with him shooting 1 for 14 the way that was going. So Tatum deserves a lot of credit, but it is going to detract from the defense, which again is strange for me to say, like, defense when I'm kind of a more like fix your offense guy. The defense is what saved their asses, and the defense is the thing you can count on a little more. I'm not convinced just because Tatum had a good game in Game 7, he's not going to come back and have a poor shooting performance in Game 1 against the Heat, or one of those games where you're like, come on, man. Maybe he won't. Maybe this lights a fire and he completely takes off and goes on an absolute tear, which would be great. But the defense finding it, and not only finding it, realizing you needed it to survive. Without it, we're dead. Like we're struggling with this thing. We've got to start with the D and make it happen. And to do it 2 games in a row, it's not going to get talked about enough in this game because it was a blowout and Tatum had 51. That defense in that third quarter was just absurd. And so here's Horford talking about, I believe it might be Embiid specific or just what they were doing defensively to Philadelphia.
What was your focus? What were you looking at, and what were you trying to take away?
Just try to make everything as difficult as I could. He's the MVP of the league for a reason, and how much pressure he can put on your defense, and so many things that he can do. I was just out there trying to fight for my life and trying to make an impact, and I understood that in this series it wasn't going to be so much my offense; it was more defensively that I had to take that challenge and defend him for us to have a chance.
Way to go, Al.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Al had a rough series, I thought, in terms of shooting the ball. But man, it seemed that the deeper we got into the series, the more locked in he became defensively on what he needed to do to just make life difficult for Joel Embiid. And we saw at the very end there in Game 7. Al was looking like old school Al when it came to Joel Embiid, a player that he has had his number for most of Joel Embiid's career. And so this was just kind of like Groundhog's Day in Game 7. Joel Embiid looks for shots. Al Horford is making him pay. I think Joel had 15 points and was 5 for 18 from the field. Philly can't win when Joel Embiid is that ineffective, non-efficient. And Al had a lot to do with that, with his defense.
He was awesome. Al was awesome.
He was, and he took a lot of heat. He took a lot of heat in the first, a number of these games because of how poor shooting he was. But
they murdered him on the pick and roll.
About,
he got caught on those switches
exactly
on Harden so many times, and he's on an island. He got killed, and he was dropping so deep, and he was giving Embiid all of those free throw jumpers. I felt like they took a lot of those away today. That wasn't there. That deep drop. They were fighting through the screens, and they were staying with people. They did not do this. They didn't do what they were doing with all of those gimmies before.
They fought through the screens, but they also Rob was actually important to them. Like a lot of those games, I thought Rob was ineffective or not even on the court, and Al was kind of left in some positions where maybe I thought it was a little bit unfair. I thought they were trying to make Al do a little bit too much, and Rob Williams is sitting on the bench, so they utilized Rob a lot more, and I thought that allowed Al to be a little bit more comfortable in his role on the team. So I think it was a little bit of everything. But yeah, John, to your point, they fought through way harder than they were the first few games, where they were just switching and letting open shots occur all over the court.
I want to say once again, congratulations to Sherrod. Humbly, CLNS, one of the best media teams.
Humbly.
NBC crew in the house, former NBC crew in the house here, holding it down. Look at us now.
Right.
Look at us now. Professor, college grad, Jimmy Toscano, construction.
We got hard hat Jimmy.
Me.
Yeah.
Just me.
Jimmy Toscano.
Look at us now. Look at me now, people. Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've graduated. All right. So yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. This is good stuff.
My homeschool teacher's wrong.
Ma, shh, quiet. Cut it out, Ma.
Happy Mother's Day to the moms that are watching today too. How about that?
Yeah, the ones who raised us, who schooled us. Yeah.
Yep. Had a nice dinner, lunch here at my place for my mom. Shout out, Mom, watching at home probably by now.
Yeah, shout out moms. Shout out to all the moms. Yeah, when you're well, Sherrod thankfully doesn't have any the mom's gonna get complicated because you get your girls get a little older, Sherrod. You're gonna have moms everywhere, right? Like I'm way away from it because my kids are really small, but like there's so many moms to celebrate on these days.
Don't want to think about it.
Don't even want to think about it.
Celebrate wives.
Yeah. Moms, wives, sisters, thankfully
stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot. Thankfully not children yet, Yeah, thankfully. So yeah, all the moms. There's a lot of moms. We gave each of the moms a little bit of love today. So
saw Tatum's mom courtside. She had a good Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Watched her son.
Yes.
Watched her son the Sixers.
Yeah.
Which is no surprise considering how close he is. If anyone was going to like show out on Mother's Day, it would be Jason Tatum. When just kind of knowing his story and how close his mom is. I mean, Mother's Day Tatum is a badass, man. Is an absolute badass. Mother's Day's Tatum is bad.
Awesome.
No one wants that smoke. This was a good one. But I can't help but think about just Joel Embiid and just what's kind of percolating in his head now.
Next for them.
Because this is like an annual rite of passage for you that you have a good year, you get some accolades, you get some praise, you play the Celtics, they kick your ass, you go home to the summer. 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at right now.
What happens to this team?
Yeah. I mean, Doc's clearly in the crosshairs of not being back next year. I don't think there's any question about that. And especially when you consider some of the coaches who are out there who are available, who got axed, within the last few weeks. I don't know if Doc's going to be back next year. Doc doesn't know if he's going to be back next year. James Harden, all the talk is about him going back to Houston. Who knows if that's going to happen or not? Philadelphia is in a weird place because they could look dramatically different a year from now, or a few months from now, I should say, at the start of the next season.
They could. Sorry, people had a tough time hearing something. I'm gonna play Al again. I have a better clip here. Give me a second. But yeah, Philly's in a tough spot. Doc's in a tough spot. Harden might potentially leave, and that's gonna mess you up a lot, Sherrod. There's no doubt about it. Let me see if I can find this here. All right, boom. We'll try Al again. All right, here was Al on Embiid. We had a difficult time with the audio. Give me a second, guys. This should sound a little bit better from Big Al.
Try to make everything as difficult as I could. He's the MVP of the league for a reason, and how much pressure he can put on your defense, and so many things that he can do. I was just out there trying to fight for my life and trying to make an impact, and I understood that in this series it wasn't going to be so much my offense; it was more defensively that I had to take that challenge and defend him for us to have a chance.
Is it fair? The conversation is Philly. We always talk about like everyone here is so worried about hating and like thinking like Boston media is the only people who ever say anything negative about anybody. But they're killing. They've already begun killing. They were killing Embiid heading into 7 that he was soft and gave up in game 6. And he's going to catch a lot of crap for this performance here, even though he's playing on one leg. Deserved or not deserved. You're talking about the league MVP. It's hard to figure out the extent of the injury, but we saw him during the course of this series have incredible success. And when it mattered most, he mucked it. So what do you think?
The criticism is well deserved, just like the praise that he got for the things that he was able to accomplish this year are deserved. That's part of being a great player. Jason Tatum, I mean, think about it. I mean, game, 5-6 quarters ago, there were legitimate questions among the fans about whether this is the guy that should be, whether or not he should be the face of the franchise. He puts together a dramatic 4 minutes in game 6 and has a dominant game 7. The Celtics are now back in the conference finals, and now all of a sudden, all is forgotten. He's an amazing player. He's top 5 Tatum. We saw Mother's Day Tatum just absolutely destroy the Sixers, and that's how quickly the narratives can change. But at the end of the day, it's not about what you've done; it's what are you doing now. And right now, Tatum is at the absolute pinnacle of his game. Joel Embiid, 1, 2, 3 Cancun. That's where you're headed. That's the reality of where you're at. Your team is done. And as the face of your franchise, whether it's right or wrong, you're going to catch those strays. You're going to catch that heat because that's what being the best player on your team comes with. That's the fine print that a lot of players don't want to read, but it's there.
What I notice with Embiid a lot, and maybe this is just me, I notice a lot of like, well, you know, why is it all on me sort of thing, rather than it is on me. You know, there was even some stuff I saw coming into it, which is like, pressure on me. What, you know, like, there's a lot of other people out there who've won multiple MVPs and not won titles. Why are we talking about me? You know, like, not the attitude you necessarily wanted there. Because again, I had amazing respect for him, you know, for the way that he played here. But, you know, quitting is a real thing. When you see people start to, you know, kind of sulk when things aren't going their way, and, you know, and not rush back and start to walk it up the court. Like, you saw it on him today. He was looking to tap out.
Yeah. And you start, you know,
I'm not either, but
no,
I'm saying it's gonna be on him. Again, the standard you hold Tatum to, Embiid's the MVP of the league at this point. Right. So like, he's going to be held to that standard by Philly fans. Is it fair? That's all I'm saying.
He is going to be held to that standard, John, but I think the Celtics roster is much more better than the roster that Embiid's been put around. Embiid's been kind of screwed with teammates over the course of his career. I mean, he dealt with Simmons for years before I think a lot of people really understood just how bad it was playing with Simmons. And I remember covering the team way back, and those two always kind of were at odds with each other. And it was too soon to say, like, who was the real problem, but I think it's obvious that it was Simmons. And then he goes to freaking Harden, who can check in and out of games and is at a point in his career where you might just not be sure of being a serviceable number two. I mean, we also saw Harden go off at certain points. I just don't know if he's at that point in his career where he can consistently do it. So I can understand Embiid's frustrations. They have an unbelievable generational player on their team, and they've been unable to put the right pieces around him. They should have a championship contending team, and it looks like this thing's going to end without them ever getting even to the NBA Finals. So that's definitely disappointing. What's that?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
The end of the process.
Yeah,
it's the end of the process.
Here's the thing.
What do we call it, John?
Joel.
Process of
elimination.
Exactly. The problem that I have with Embiid is that it seems that
the elimination
Embiid has this tendency to want to absolve himself from a lot of the crap that he and his teams put up out there. Here's the thing. Since 2000, there have only been 7 players to win league MVP and not win a championship. And he's one of those 7. He's played with one of the guys who are among that 7, and James Harden. It's very unusual to win league MVP and not come across winning a title. The last 24 times we've had an MVP, or 23 times, 16 of them have won a championship. And one of those guys, Jokic, is in the potentially could get one this year. So the fact that he's trying to make it as though that your other guys win MVP and don't win titles, it happens, but it doesn't happen a lot. And we've all agreed that it's been a while since the NBA was as wide open to win a championship as it has been this year. This was the perfect year for you to have one of those special seasons, which he did statistically, and win a championship. And the fact is, your ass is getting bounced in the second round again by the Celtics again. So I'm not trying to hear this crap about how, well, you know, I'm not alone. You're right. You're not alone. And that's part of the problem. You bunch yourself up with a bunch of folks who don't get it done. That's the problem. That is the problem.
Yeah. And you're and things are being forced on you, and then you're stuck with Harden, whether you want him or not, because, you know, you're getting rid of one set of garbage and moving on to the other. You're talking about what's happening here, and there's been discussion about Harden possibly leaving town, playing with like his 12th team in the last 4 years or whatever, or going back to Houston even and hang out with Ime. Here's Harden when he was asked a question about Embiid, and then we got Josue here. We're getting his take on what's going on here. First, this James Harden clip. Check it out.
When you got here, you said that one of the reasons you wanted to come, if I'm not mistaken, was Doc. How has your relationship been with Doc, and would you like to see him back?
I think our relationship is okay.
dicey. Our
relationship is okay.
That's
Josue, where have you been?
Ooh, that's
Josue, where were you hanging out right now?
That's perfect lead in, man. I just left that scrum with James Harden, and interesting quote. I don't know if it's a matter of that's what's best for the team's future, or if it's one of those like Magic Johnson said, I'm not gonna be here. You know what I mean? Like I don't know which one that means when he says our relationship is okay, and he just decided to not answer the second half of that question. But Sherrod, look at you, man. Congratulations, my guy. I remember you telling me this journey that you were going on, and I like how you just didn't tell anyone that today was that day, or maybe you did, but no, this is awesome, man. Congrats, bro. Getting your masters, man.
Real G's moving silence like lasagna.
Yeah, they do.
You know that.
That's true.
You know that.
That's true. Yep.
But I want to hear more about James Harden. I mean, to be honest with you, because that's what you say when you when what do you think about this girl who kind of likes you? Oh, she okay.
She's okay.
Right. Right.
That's not exactly the ringing endorsement.
It's like
what do you think about this meal I made?
I'm okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. It doesn't. Okay. It doesn't excite him at all. You could tell, like it doesn't seem like running it back with Doc doesn't seem like he has any enthusiasm behind that. And he's been talking about having to play a role where he has to sacrifice a lot, and he's been saying that all season, all series. Even after he had the big performance in Game 1, he's like, "Well, yeah, I sacrificed, but tonight I didn't have to." And I felt like it's just been that undertone throughout the course of the series. And I saw him doing that again, the 40-plus point game. I didn't know if he had another one left in him, but I just think with the way this thing went down and the way they were, blowing off the floor here, it's just that where he is and his role, the team just resonates even more. It's like, man, it seemed like he checked out midway through the third when he was like, Tatum's having one of those games. And like he said in that scrum, we did nothing to stop it. We did absolutely nothing. He didn't hold back when he said that. Again, is that a shot at Doc? Is that his way of saying, look, we weren't prepared to handle something like that? Or is it him just saying he's just frustrated with the situation? I mean, you could read it either way, right?
I don't know if they weren't prepared for it, Josue, as much as they never adjusted. I mean, the dude hit you for 25, 26 points in the first half. Coming out in the third quarter, I'm trying to get the ball out of his hands. I'm trying to double team him the minute he touches the ball. And that just didn't seem like Philadelphia had the stomach for that. Because whenever a player like Tatum has it going like that, and you make the effort to get the ball out of his hands, you have to make the multiple efforts so that guys don't get wide open shots when the ball leaves his hands.
Yeah.
Philadelphia never really seemed to have the stomach to make those multiple effort plays, either to get the ball out of Tatum's hands or respond when he does pass it and they do double. There was a play, I think it was in the third quarter, where they had a really good, I think, double team on Tatum, and all he did was just threw like a high pass to the middle of the paint to Marcus Smart, and they just kind of looked at Marcus Smart thinking like, what you going to do? And Marcus just shot up a little floater. Defense goes back, 2 more points for the Celtics. This was Doc it's going to be hard to see Doc coming back after this game, because a lot of the mistakes that they made, it really did feel as though they just simply didn't make the necessary adjustments that you need to make. And who does that fall on? Your coach.
Yeah.
He's supposed to do that. So
it was almost as if he was okay with Tatum having a big night, but he didn't understand the extent of it. He didn't get it didn't hit him that he was already at 25 at halftime. And I just feel like he didn't see that happening. I felt like the Sixers went into the second half with sort of the same type of approach where they were going to try to get going from deep, spread out. The way they were spacing was a little better than what we saw last game, but they didn't do anything about Tatum going on. They did nothing to stop the bleeding, and it just, you guys saw it, like when it rains it pours. Like it got to the point where the whole crowd's into it, and those makes that they were doing off of the Celtics' makes, which I thought was keeping them in that first half, those were gone. Like the humongous run that the Celtics went on was just too much for the Sixers to handle, and you just didn't see that fight or any adjustment really in just trying to slow down Tatum. But what a game!
Yeah,
man.
One of the things I did notice was, and Doc, again, this is very different than some of the early games where they had some success. Whenever the Celtics went on a little bit of a run, Doc would call a timeout to just shut it down or at least slow it down.
Yeah, he did that a lot in Game 6 too. Remember? Yeah.
And he tried that again in this game, and it just didn't work. I mean, a lot of the timeouts that they would call, they would turn the ball over when they come out of the timeout, or they would take a bad shot when they come out of the timeout. And so Philadelphia never show, other than that early surge in the first quarter, they never really showed the ability to adapt and play a style of basketball that could lead them to success. And the Celtics did. I mean, we can talk about Tatum and all he did, but as John pointed out earlier, which I think is really the probably it's the slow drip story that people recognize but aren't really given the credit it deserves, is their defense. I mean, they put the clamps on the Sixers defensively. Joel, 15 points on 5 for 18 shooting. That's not him having an off night. That's him getting locked up. Because Joel is
too. He had a lot to do.
I mean, Joel is too talented to have that type of game on his own by simply missing shots. No, he was locked up defensively by a guy who has historically given him problems in terms of scoring. So this again, if you're the Celtics, you got to feel really good about this game because you got back to being who you are. You are a team that has built the defensive legacy throughout the years, and they got back to their roots, I thought, in this game. When you look at the numbers of Harden, you look at the numbers of Embiid, you start just going down the line. And no other than PJ Tucker in that first quarter, no one on Philadelphia really had a game that they could write home about. That makes you take notice of, other than how bad it was. So this was a game that if you're the Celtics, you really need to lean a little bit heavier than you did in this game into what your defense can do for you, because that's going to be the pathway for you getting back to the finals.
And they have that blueprint, right, Sherrod? I mean, it's right there in front of them. They see that their defense can lead to offense, and that if they just play to their capabilities, like, it's no competition. Josue, what's your first?
I like that hat, Jimmy. There you go.
Thank you. What? Give us your first impression of a Celtics Heat series. What are you thinking? It's going through your head.
Man,
not a prediction, but just like your first opening thoughts here.
To be honest with you, Jimmy, it's hard to predict, especially because of the way the Miami Heat finished off the Knicks. But I'm excited to see what this team's going to do in the sense of, like, they had those scars going into it, right? I mean, they were down 3-2 in this series. There was much criticism of the way they wrapped up the first round. So I feel like all that is worth mentioning when you think about where their head is right now, going into this headspace is going into the Heat. And I'm wondering what Mazzulla's going to do with his rotations. I don't like this 7-man rotation, at least just to start this series against the Heat. I'm hoping that's not the case. But, it's hard to gauge exactly, what each team's going to put out there. But I'm excited for it. I really am. I think this is going to be a really good series. I think this will be a long series. I don't think either one of these teams is gonna come out victorious in a 4 or 5 game series. I think it's going to go way longer than that. And I think the Celtics are going to find out a whole lot about themselves. If when you consider what they went through to get to this point, to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, this wasn't easy for them. It wasn't, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see this going any shorter than 6 games because of just how tough both teams are in terms of mental toughness. I think the Celtics, they really had to answer the bell multiple times in this series to showcase how tough they are from a mental standpoint. Closeout game on the road is not easy to win. And when your best player plays as bad shooting the ball as Tatum did, it's a damn near miracle that you can win. So to bounce back from that and then to just dominate the way they did for basically, I'd say second half, maybe 2.5 quarters, the way they did, it says a lot about just how resilient this team is, figuring out ways to keep their season alive.
Yeah,
hey guys,
it's gonna be about which team is tougher mentally. I don't know. The Celtics have had some moments in this postseason where you're like, if they keep playing with fire, they're gonna end up on the wrong side of the end of a 6-game series or so. So it's gonna be tough, man. I really do think this Miami Heat team is gonna be really hard for the Celtics, the toughest team they've seen thus far.
Here's we talked about the turning point moment of the game.
Energy shift. Where's the energy shift?
Energy shift when
it's
Jalen,
Tatum attacking Embiid in that second half. No, back-to-back possessions.
I mean, I can't tell you how low I was watching that first quarter and partially into the second. I really was like, they cannot win like this. It's not going to happen.
You didn't feel good about it, right? I didn't either. I really didn't. And I was, what I was expecting? I was expecting Maxey to come out with a huge second half. I mean, he was all right, but Yeah, I'm with you, John. I didn't feel good about
But
it.
everything looked bad until the energy legit shifted on that Niang play. And everything there was a.
That too.
I hate
Yeah.
switch. I hate switch flipping moments because I do think that's cliche. But like everything was different after that. Both teams woke up. I mean, but the Celtics needed to wake up. Philly wasn't great in the first quarter either. Embiid wasn't great. Harden wasn't great. You just had a few Tucker threes, and that was basically the difference. But both teams were not terrific there. And that thing really snapped the Celtics out of it. They definitely got more aggressive. Here's Jaylen Brown talking about what happened there. And again, we're talking about when he went into the corner and George Niang grabbed him a little tug. And here's Jalen's kind of recapping that.
The intensity
that
was
event.
just, was high. It was me and I think first it was a loose ball. Me and James was fighting for it. I think I got away with maybe a foul on James, but I fell into their bench. And I just think with the, intensity of the game and, emotions is flying around, I think, he just thought like maybe let me just try to grab him and slow him down a little bit. I don't think Niang's a bad guy or anything. I work out with him in the off season. I just think he just got caught up in the intensity of the game and made a play, and I responded to it. I don't know which way I should have responded to it, but if I didn't do anything, they probably would have played on. And here comes Scott Foster and just right away, before even deciphering the situation, gives me a tech. I definitely didn't want to get a tech in that situation, but
here goes Scott Foster.
Somehow
that could be a fine.
Coming out of all of that commotion ended up being even. Right, it was no advantage from that. It ended up calling it even. I got a tech, he got a tech, and then just being a side out. And I think a play like that should have been a little bit more there. I don't think Niang was thinking when he did it, and I don't think he's a bad guy. He's just caught up in the emotion of the game.
Here comes Scott Foster.
You get a tech.
Scott Foster's
you
music.
get a tech. Who else wants one? You want one too? Like that was Scott's
that's
energy.
Scott
man.
Foster music coming
Here
in.
comes Scott Foster.
He comes with that bull, and you know what he wanted to say there.
Yeah. I will translate for Jalen.
But that was
Here comes
great.
Scott Foster with some bullshit.
Right.
Not knowing the facts. Not knowing the facts. He's coming with some bullshit.
Before even asking questions, right?
Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable too with the equipment these guys have. Like, just go to the replay, go figure it out. Don't just go slapping people with text. You don't know what happened.
At the moment, I'll say this. At the moment, my thought is, I mean, why stop? He didn't actually trip you. You didn't get taken out of the play. It was a tug. At that point, Harden's on his ass. Okay, and you've got numbers, and you're sitting there beefing with somebody, and then Rob's got to come back and pull you away from it to avoid anything like losing, best player, second best player to something stupid, and you just gave up a breakout situation. And at the time, I'm like, that was so dumb. But if that was going to flip the energy, which it did, and kind of focus them and get them a little bit, then great, it worked. But at the moment, I was like, why stop? What are you doing? Like, he barely
I can't
tugged
be,
him.
I can't be mad at Jalen in that moment, though.
They went nuts.
I mean, somebody, he grabbed his leg, and it's just like, you knew it wasn't James because James was on his ass. So who was grabbing my damn leg? And I was bothered the fact that Jalen got a tech for that, because his tech was simply because someone grabbed him. You should not be punished if someone grabs your leg who's on the bench. I'm sorry. You're supposed to just say, oh, well, they just grabbed my leg. Oh, not a big deal.
That's what referees are for. It's like, he punched me, I punched him back. You both get techs.
But see, at that moment, there wasn't coming.
That's that soccer thing, though.
Foster wasn't coming then.
It should be different in NBA.
Scott Foster wasn't walking down that sideline at that moment. He should have been.
Dude, it's matching penalties, okay? Yeah, he
exactly.
hit him back.
I hate
matching
that.
Penalties
I hate that.
It is annoying. Like, I wouldn't have hit him if he didn't hit me, but I'm not supposed to hit him. So, like, you're still not supposed to. Like, the world doesn't work that way. It's not like, well, he cut me off in traffic, so I rammed him off the road. Like, no,
but referees are never gonna go cop style, pull out a notepad and be like, so what happened here? Like, they never do that. They just decide what they decide in that moment.
Usually
and then
when they're wrong, though, they usually come with a makeup call later. And I didn't see the makeup call. There wasn't the really just horrible call that they make that clearly is in one team's favor simply because they screwed up earlier. They didn't do that.
Yep.
Here comes Scott Foster.
All right, let's get our predictions. Let's get our predictions going.
Prediction time.
And again, we're 3 times. Well, how about this? Let's let predictions marinate. Let's just get
Yeah.
first thoughts on the series because we got a couple days here to lock it in and think about it and kind of look a little deeper at the numbers. Go back into the tape if you want and see how they played
I'll do that.
against him this year. I won't do that. I saw a Heat loss this year. It was that weird time when they played back-to-back games where Miami was in town and the Celtics in that first game looked like world beaters, and then they lost that second game. And Miami kind of played a Miami sort of game, and you remember like what they're about. Are they the same team? I mean, here's the thing, man. No hero.
That's big.
That hurts them a lot.
Especially in the series, yeah.
They really lack juice. They lack the firepower. I know when Hero's out there, it's a tough matchup because he's going to get smoked defensively. But he's been instant offense at times against the Celtics. He's been a real thorn in their side. They need guys like Vincent and Strus, in addition to Butler, to carry a big offensive load to be able to compete here. So I don't know. It's just a manpower thing. Like I said, I respect the hell out of them. I'm just having a tough time seeing it.
Against New York. Go ahead, Josue. You got it.
No, I was going to say real quick. I mean, we spoke about it briefly when you stepped out for a second, but it's such a mental thing for these guys. If you ask me, culture versus culture. How disciplined these guys are in Miami, and man, they're in my opinion, they're feeling way better than themselves going into the series than they did a year ago. You know what I mean? I just think this is a different team in a sense of how mentally tough they are. But you're right, John. I feel like to beat the Celtics, you need some big game. You need some production from guys like Khalid Martin or Duncan Robinson. 3-point shot, I think, will be key in this one. Do those guys come up big? And what do you get from Kyle Lowry? So there's a lot of question marks there. But as a cohesive unit, in the sense of like a team getting to know each other throughout the span of a 7-game series, I just think this is going to be the toughest matchup the Celtics have. This is going to be their toughest series so far, for sure. And I think it's because
I don't think so.
And because of the way he'll have these guys prepared. You don't think so, really? I think this is the toughest one. I think.
I think
okay.
They just finished the toughest series simply because there was a guy on the opposite end of the floor that they never had a clear and undeniable, legitimate chance of slowing down significantly. I mean, Joel Embiid, he had a horrible Game 7, but again, more nice than not, he's going to win that matchup. And even with a slow down Joel Embiid, he still won the matchup with Al for the most part. Al did a great job defensively, but Joel still got his. The absence of Tyler Hero at some point is going to come back and bite them in the ass, and this is the series. They're going to need as much firepower as possible because the Celtics, that frankly is what they can do. They have multiple weapons of destruction that have a certain pattern of scoring at a high level. Tatum, Brown, Malcolm. Al is probably going to get better looks, as good or better looks. Derek White is due to have a much better series. And then you start looking at that Knicks team that they beat, Jalen Brunson. That's pretty much the only one that they could count on. They got a couple good games from RJ Barrett, a couple good games from Julius. But for the most part, the Knicks have one guy that you had to really worry about if you're the Miami Heat in terms of just carrying them night in, night out. The Celtics got like 3 or 4. And again, if you don't have something to balance that up against another scorer other than Jimmy Butler, Gabe Vincent can give you a little something, but you're not banking on him to get you 20 or 25 a night. Same thing with Bam. So I think Miami has a serious offensive deficiency problem going into this series, and I think that's why I think it's not going to be 7 games, at most 6.
Look at the scores. I mean, again, like Miami had a good series against Milwaukee. They scored a lot, and that's not normal for what they normally do, especially considering what a good defensive team. I think that series was a bit of an anomaly. I think Miami's played out of its
see, that's the thing, John. I don't know if that team's going to show up.
But again. look at the scores here. Look, the Knicks are a bottom third of the league defense. Okay, they are, and the Heat 108, 105, 105. 109, 103, 96. Those are the scores that they're doing there. That's against a horrible defense. Like, they're going to struggle to crack 100 against the Celtics. So, and they really are. If the Celtics come up and play anywhere close to this defense, getting over 100. So if they can win a bunch of 96, 86 rock fights, fine. Maybe they can hang in there, and maybe they can. I'm really struggling to see it here because they're an offensively challenged team, and this is why I think for the Celtics here, the defense that they're playing these last couple of games, I don't know how they put up the points. I don't know how.
They
Jimmy?
don't. I mean, to answer your question, they're a one-man band. Jimmy Butler against the world. And honestly, credit to him for getting this team as far as he has, but the ride ends here for the Heat. And I'm not trying to act like a green teamer and pom-poms and all that, but the Celtics are just too talented. They have too many scoring options. And honestly, if you just I know it's much easier said than done, but if you can just try to take Butler out of the game, whether it's just physicality, double him, make Kyle Lowry shoot 20 jumpers. I mean, whatever it is, like there's got to be a way, and it shouldn't be that difficult to prevent the Heat from scoring more than like 100 points because they're just not talented enough. They don't have the firepower. They're not built to, especially with Hero out. So I don't, Josue, I respect you. I respect your opinion, but I will disagree with you. I don't think this would be the hardest.
And we all respect that.
Actually, take it back. I don't respect you, and I don't respect your opinion.
Well, goddamn, all right.
We were
damn that escalated quick.
Yeah.
One story before the game was kind of from Jaylen Brown's little call to action on Celtics fans, like energy. And we debated it a little bit on the last show. In my opinion, being give them a reason to cheer and they'll cheer. It's not like just cheer when they're winning, but you're low energy, fans will be low energy. But Game 5 was a real shit show in terms of the fans. They didn't show up there, and it was a bit louder. Would you say tonight, Josue? Yeah. Even when things weren't going bad.
Yeah.
Tatum
and they were looking for anything to cheer for too. Like that it was one of those crowds, so it was good.
Yeah. So you could tell they were more dialed in, where you could sense like, man, it's got to happen here. So those Game 7s are always going to be great from a fan perspective. But here was Tatum talking about how it kind of like impacted his play.
You seem to respond more so than ever with this crowd and really fed off of them tonight. Did you?
Yeah. And, I can't, express it enough. The genuine love that, I kind of feel from the crowd, whether it's pregame, during the game, at the free throw line. I've been here my whole career, right? I feel, feel that they embrace me, almost as one of their own. And, that means a lot. And, I love being here. I love getting to put on this uniform. I love getting to play big games, put on big performances in front of them. And they feed off, emotion and energy, right? And it's reciprocated. And can't express enough that, I just love being here and love playing in front of this crowd.
Sounds like a Celtic legend right
now. That was it.
Sounds like he fits the description.
Jimmy, we've been waiting for this for how long?
That was all he had to say.
I've written this comment in our texts.
Yeah. 6 years. We've been waiting for him to talk like this
for 6 years. I'm like, if Jason just said this,
you happy now?
Everyone's unbelievable.
Are you happy now, folks? Are you happy?
You have to be happy.
I mean, fans were making it sound like we wanted him to go out and kiss the parquet floor or whatever. No. Just show some some kind of sense of like, I'm so happy to be here. You know what I mean? And I love wearing this uniform. I was hoping to do one of these, one game. It hasn't happened, but this is great. This is a great step.
He delivered like 5 of the greatest hits in one. Honor to put it on. The love I feel from them.
He did it all in one press conference.
I appreciate. He rolled it all into one after not doing it for 6 years.
I was listening to that. I was like this. I was like blown away.
I'm like, you guys listening to this right now? I didn't want to cut him off.
Literally, though, he actually did.
He did.
He actually did.
That's all I wanted to hear, Jason.
I can go to bed easy tonight, folks.
That kid gets it. Well. He gets it now.
Re-sign him. Max extension right now.
Give him everything he wants. Give him his own suite.
That's it. Retire the number right now. That's all we needed to hear. Honestly, we have been like joking about it, but serious about it for like his entire career in Boston.
We've been low key serious about it for 4 years at least.
Low key and high key, like just just say this. Tell me you love me.
All of it.
Just tell me you love me. One time.
He did it all of it at once.
Wow,
Oh my
that was
God! Like
stunning.
Yo, Jimmy's
gonna play
emotional
that.
right now. Look at
Jimmy's
this. Is great.
Can you guys see? I'm like,
Jimmy's gonna
I'm
loop that.
watering. I'm tearing up.
I'm crying. Oh
But
my
how?
God!
But like, that's it though. Like, the fact that he's never said it before until now, like, it makes you feel like, okay, this guy likes to play here. I want to put this comment up before it disappears, John.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Man.
It almost
Appreciate you,
disappeared
man.
on us. So thank you, Sal.
Wow.
US dollars
All
there,
of this
Jimmy,
goes
if you didn't
I
know.
know US dollar conversion. I don't have to go.
All of this goes back to the mothers, by the way. Okay?
Yes.
Any super chat money will be reinvested in
Yeah.
That's a
something
great
nicer
call.
for mom. Okay.
Happy Mother's Day, Ma.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's going to go
Hey,
towards
Ma.
my Mother's Day gift right there.
This is called the internet, Ma. I'm on the
Do you have the
internet right
link?
now.
Do you have the URL? It's www.
Ma, come see me on the internet. I love ya.
Thank
You
you,
guys,
Sal.
any party? I mean, all right. Like, I still can't get over just how close this team was to lose it, right? Obviously in game 6. But just the fact that what the narrative would have been, right, if that was the case, regardless of what Tatum finishes with, people would have been like 1 for 12. Like, how could he collapse like that? Yada, yada, yada. And Tatum going into game 7, what he said after the post-game interview and all that, he had to back it up. And man, did he do that in a big way. And I think being here, obviously, in the crowd and the game 7 vibes and how electric it was in here, just it all came together for him to say what he just said. And like, man, like, I love doing this for this team, for this city, and I'm ready to keep this going, obviously, and go back to the NBA Finals and win it all. Like, this is huge, man. All of it is. I mean, we're joking around here, but it's true. I mean, we've been waiting for this for years because we've seen it before with other superstars that have brought a championship to the city. And Tatum's obviously been showing signs of that, but that was the part that we hadn't seen from him yet until today. So that's big, man.
Yep. All right, let's bring it. Let's bring
There
in
he
Bobby.
is.
Bobby.
What up, Bobby?
We just heard Jason Tatum tell us that he loved us for the first time ever.
Bobby, were you in there for that? Did you start giggling like joyfully?
No, I didn't get Tatum, but I'm sure you had a lot of good stuff to say.
You have no idea.
Yeah. Want to run it again?
You weren't in there? You weren't in there?
Want to run again? I haven't heard it. No.
He got down on a
Fine.
knee.
One more time. One more. He got down on a knee and proposed. First time. Here you go.
You seem to respond more so than ever with this crowd and really fed off of them tonight. Did you?
Yeah. And, I can't, express it enough. The genuine love that, I kind of feel from the crowd, whether it's pregame, during the game, at the free throw line. I've been here my whole career, right? I feel, feel that they embrace me, almost as one of their own. And, that means a lot. And, I love being here. I love getting to put on this uniform. I love getting to play big games, put on big performances in front of them. And they feed off, emotion and energy, right? And it's reciprocated. And can't express enough that, I just love being here and love playing in front of this crowd.
Yeah.
Look at that, Bobby.
Congrats, Sherrod. Sherrod made it. This is great. Yeah. What a contrast to after Game 5, where he's like, "Yeah, we've been booed before." This is a super impressive turnaround in this series for these guys, and Tatum in particular. I don't know, and it's always tough to compare to something in the moment, but I can't think of a player who was so lost and out of a series quite like this, turning it around to play at the best we've ever seen him between the end of, and you tweeted something to this effect, John, the end of Game 6, the fourth quarter, and these 4 quarters here, perfect basketball from him. And even, it was the very end of that fourth quarter where he hits the 4 threes.
It was late. Yeah, he's deep into that fourth, and he still hadn't
4 minutes to go. Yeah.
But this, to me, tonight was his best game ever. Working the mid-range early, doing those 2 passes through the post to get the other guys' threes was an effective counter to the double team, and I think kept Philly away from overusing it. And then the finish, all those step backs, that's him at his most unstoppable. And I talked to Tyrese Maxey, and Embiid and some of those guys on that side, and they're just like, there's nothing he can do when he's doing that, and that's unstoppable stuff. And this is the guy we saw early in the year who was in that MVP conversation. That guy hasn't appeared probably since mid-season. He slipped so much through the end of the year, and then into that first and second round, he just wasn't playing good enough. And this is finally Tatum at his potential, and I think Tatum at the best we've ever seen him here tonight.
It was not good enough. It's a good point, Bobby.
Every start was a letdown.
It was fine, but it wasn't good enough considering you need your stars to win you 1 or 2 games a series. You know, like that's just how it goes. Like you need it. Like you can't have good enough and okay, because that puts a lot of weight on a lot of heat on other people who are not the stars to have big moments. You have Marcus Smart saving his ass for most of game 6. You know, Rob Williams in the defense, Jaylen Brown being the guy while he wasn't the guy early. You know, like the Celtics are lucky they have that luxury. Yeah. They're lucky they have that luxury. But what this means on a larger scale for me, think about how the fate of Celtics Nation changed from midweek or early in the week, Tuesday, when Jaylen Brown makes All-NBA, to now when Jason Tatum finally tells us that he loves us. Like, think about how different you feel about the Celtics not going out like total chumps in 6 games, because that could have changed the narrative. Like, whether you want to stay or not, I'm not sure if management could keep this bum-ass core around because you just got ragdolled. And it didn't happen. They completely rewrote their entire future. It's a real sliding doors moment from that fourth quarter on to going forward, and who knows what, possibly ending in an NBA title. Completely rewritten scripts if Tatum doesn't knock down a couple of threes and shake off whatever the hell was going on in that game 6. The entire franchise could have been different, and it's amazing. Where we are right at this moment, considering how low and how bad things were just a short while ago.
Yeah, they saved the core. There's no doubt about that. And
they saved so many things, and it's so crazy. You see coaches' jobs get saved. You see players remain. You see how it goes. It's a friggin' cold league. Monty Williams wins Coach of the Year twice, and he's the reason Phoenix is out. Gone. Yeah.
It's unfair to coaches.
Things are going to change in Philly now. Who knows if they're even in the picture next year with what's coming. And Embiid, who knows? He signed long term, and he sounded optimistic and did the Giannis thing post game. Not a failure, all of that. Harden, though, and you already had the rumblings he would be out of here regardless what happened. Said his relationship with Doc's okay. Hasn't thought about his future. Yeah, very disappointing. Just kind of a mellow Harden post game, and what a disaster he was. And the fourth didn't matter tonight, but I saw 3 straight fourths with 0 points.
That's Ben Vallis, by the way, First to the Floor podcast, also on CLNS Media. You should check it out as well. Fun guys, it's fun from down under. A really good Celtics podcast, also on the CLNS Media Network. So, guys, what do you think? Looking ahead to Miami, Sherrod, Josue, Jimmy, ask you guys first here. Do they stay with – now that it worked, we think, do they stay with double big, or do you try to work Derek White back into kind of what's going on?
Stay with double big, but please play at least 8 guys. I don't like the 7-man thing to go the whole entire series against the Heat, and don't make it one of those situations where you start the series that way and then you have to switch things up. But the double big, I think you keep the double big, and whether it's a Blake or Grant, someone out there in the front court that's over 6'5". I mean, I just feel like they have to put someone else out there in this series against Miami.
I don't think they're gonna. I think these are their guys, and again, bummed to see Grant not out there for most of this series again. Thought when they started slow from 3 early in this game, they need a guy like that. They didn't go in that direction. They ultimately got some late from Tatum, who's struggled from out there for a lot of this year. So they do need that shooting against this Miami team. This Miami team's going to zone it up at a level that the Celtics haven't seen. They saw a little bit of it in this series, but that's always a trouble for this team. And I'm going to look at this series and say what I always do. I just don't get it. I'm baffled, absolutely baffled. I loved the Raptors and thought they might threaten the Celtics. I thought the Heat were about to crash and burn, and that'd be the end of them. And for them to be here after they lost that play-in game, where they potentially could have seen this, talk about another sliding doors moment. I mean, they beat the Bucks, and then they handled the Knicks fairly easily. So I'm not going to overlook them because I've done that before, and they've made me pay.
Yeah, most people don't really pay attention to your predictions, Bobby.
There's too many of them to keep track of.
Celtics fans get nervous if you call them winning it. You say the Celtics going to win, they get nervous. Yeah. What up, Joel?
Yeah, Celtics in 4.
Joel chiming in here.
Celtics in 4, Sixers in
Celtics
6.
in 4, Sixers in 7.
Sixers in 6.
And then you switched last time. After game 5, you had it right. Celtics in 7, you were like, nah, switching.
Raptors in 7. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Heat, to me, I don't get it still. Hero's hurt. I don't know how he's looking going into this series. I'd imagine he's going to miss most of it. Oladipo's out, which hurts at depth, although he's not a super important piece.
They don't have the horses.
They don't. And so you wonder, will there be more Celtics letdowns in this series, like ones we saw here that extend the series? The Butler thing's going to be a problem. I mean, John, you're the biggest proponent of this guy. I don't know how it's going to be on Tatum, I think.
But there's only one of him.
Yeah, but man, he's a
That's exactly it.
He is just
I love
stealing.
him. He's great,
stealing
but there's
games
only
left
one.
and right. I don't know how you counteract that. Double big, I think, will be a good way to go there. So yeah, I agree with you.
Here's how it's going to go. The Celtics will blow them out in 2 or 3 games, and it's at least will blow them out in at least 2 games. Blow them out. And then the question is, are you going to lose every coin flip game because you're going to be out Spoelstra and out Butlered in those games? And if you do, you lose the series. But they're going to absolutely eviscerate them in a couple of games that won't even be close, which means you got to win a couple of the coin flips in those closer games where they are in there, and some of your worst tendencies can creep in, and some of the stuff that these guys are known for, they can kind of do to you. But is that going to happen 4 times to them? I don't think so. You're not getting blown out. You're not getting run off the court by this team. So
no, it's the same.
Are they going to lose? Are they going to lose every
grinded out
game
loss? I just don't see it. Honestly, I'm not ready to make my prediction yet, but it's obviously going to be a Celtics victory or a series victory. And it's not even a knock on Miami. Credit to them for even being in this position. It speaks to Butler, it speaks to Spoelstra and a couple of those role player guys. But I mean, with Hero out, they're just lacking on that offensive end, and the Celtics are too talented. They really are. I mean, this would be the most embarrassing. You might as well lose to the Sixers if you're going to bow out to the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. That would be worse than losing to the Sixers.
We almost did, Jimmy. And again, that game 6.
The Sixers, I think, are better than the Heat.
You go back to that game 6, and it was such a scary moment, the way that game was going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just still baffled by the turnaround here, and it's a big credit to them. That is why I switched my prediction after that, is because I was just so impressed by the game 6. That's one of the most impressive things this team's ever done. And I know everyone's throwing out Tatum's game 6 at Milwaukee. I still think that's such a different situation because
it was a better team. It was that game, Bobby's hard to put behind this one because they needed him all the way down to the wire to win that one, and it was a contested game. Tatum. I mean, for the last 10, 15 points Tatum scored here was with the game already over. So they needed every friggin' single one of his 46 against Miami.
Yeah, you're right. They extended themselves to a massive degree in this third quarter here.
So that's the only difference. But in terms of quality of play, he played it was amazing just how well he was playing in almost everything that he did here. Guys, final thoughts here before we wrap it up. And again, we live to play another day. We're very thrilled about that because that was far from a guarantee. We did not tell you about our exclusive wagering partner, FanDuel, yet, which we normally tell you a lot about, but by now you should know. And if you don't, another new opportunity to come in here and ride that Celtics bandwagon. Head over to FanDuel. It's the official partner of NBA and the NBA playoffs, and the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. And sign up today when you go to FanDuel.com/Boston. Get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/Boston. Once again, you can bet, you can lose, and they'll give you $1,000 back in bonus bets to give it another shot. That's as good a deal as you're going to get here. Familiarity here, third time 4 years against the Heat. kind of wanted to see somebody new just to try something new.
No, I love Miami, man.
Knicks would have been fun.
Yeah,
Knicks
this
would
is
have been a
personal
really
for Miami
fun
too.
Yeah, you like it because you like going to Miami.
This is
you
one
guys
of the.
like Miami.
This is probably the only. I mean, other than the LeBron Curry thing we just saw, which was cool, this is probably the only rivalry in the league.
I don't even see this as a rivalry. Maybe that's wrong.
No, Celtics Sixers is a bigger rivalry than this.
Do they have enough?
Bobby, Celtics Knicks would have become a rivalry. That's why it would have.
Celtics Knicks would have been
That would have been fun. But I mean, the Heat won this series in 2020. The Celtics ripped it from them, and I can't wait to hear the Heat because Strus is still pissed about the out of bounds call. Butler's probably still pissed they missed that shot, and Bam's just Spoelstra just always kind of generally pissed. So they're going to be one.
That's that Heat culture, Bobby.
Coming into the series, I'm blown away by them. I can't believe they're here. But this is another.
It's the ultimate apology camp for you, Bobby. We're not going to make you take it right now.
We're not going to make you do it.
Just, as long as everybody knows.
This team looked like they were falling apart, and here they are.
We are going to wrap it. We want to let you go back and honor your mothers if you haven't already. If so, if you have plans, we want you to get back to it, depending on what time zone you're in. We have taken up enough of your time, but we are here to prattle on for at least a few more games and possibly, who knows, all the way down to another NBA Finals. We did not know that would be the case a couple days ago. And honestly, we were getting a little emotional about it. So I'm glad we're going to get to hang out and keep doing these post-game shows. Thank you guys for hanging out. Lots of love to all the moms, and a special, tip of the cap to Sherrod Blakely, Sherrod,
my man,
graduate.
Absolutely. Congrats.
Got his masters. Check him out.
Living a dream. Living a dream.
Yeah.
Me and Jason Tatum living a dream.
Tatum graduated today. 2 graduations today.
Exactly.
You didn't need a special hat to know it, but Sherrod is smarter than all of us, and now this, now he's
now it's official.
Too, so
now it's on paper.
Good. Now it's official. It's on paper too.
I think he's gonna have to wear it every show, like me with the hard hat now. Every
Jimmy,
win.
Damn it.
Every win.
I mean, that's one thing. You can't. No one could ever take that away from you, man. You get a degree. You should rep it the rest of the way, man.
Oh, Josue,
it's like the people who run a marathon. They walk around with the tinfoil blanket for like 3 days after. That's like Sherrod.
You know what though? Yeah, I love that. My marathon day is not complete until I said congratulations to at least like 15 people who I see walking
all wrapped up in the thing.
Or whatever.
But the day of, though.
Personally, I think it's a little much, but
I'm joking. Obviously, you can't put that back on after that.
I have mad respect. But anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. We're back on. Game 1 is on Wednesday. First 2 games here, so we'll be back. But we will have some preview material. We'll get to talk to the Celtics and the Heat when they come to town too and hear what they have to say about this matchup. Should be fun, but we play on. We're with you for probably at least 2 more weeks, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for hanging out. Celtics win.